Hi, I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire for Gel Press. I'm coming to you from Northern California in Sacramento. Today, I'm going to teach you how to use a rather unusual material to create a rather spectacular print on your gel plate. So we're going to be using Spanish moss. Spanish moss, Golden Fluid Acrylics, 2 different size brayers, and a little bit of experimentation. I'm going to be working in a palette of green because I am envisioning this paper in my collage work in a landscape greenery application. So I'm using several values of green to sort of create light and shadow in my green landscape collage papers. But you can do this in any color combination that your heart desires. You can do it in shades of blue, you can do it in shades of purple, you can do it in shades of red and orange. All you need to remember is to start with the light colors, move to the medium colors, and finish with the dark colors. So organize your paint by values, and no matter what color combo you do, you'll be all set. So let's go make some fun, highly textured, rich, layered greenery on our gel plate. Today, I'm going to make a highly textured, rich, layered print from my gel plate that I can use in collage application, and I am going to be using Golden Fluid Acrylics, my gel press monoprinting plate, 2 different sizes of brayers, and a package of Spanish moss. And the print that I'm making, I'm going to be pulling with rice paper that I get on a pad that is pretty heavy, thick, and durable, and it has a nice smooth side, and I put the smooth side down on the gel plate. And it is my favorite paper for using on the plate because of the smooth side. The smooth side pulls all the paint off. It really grabs onto the plate, that nice smooth surface, and pulls all the paint off. So let's get started. So let's talk about the colors that I'm using. So I'm using cadmium yellow. I'm using green gold. I'm using phthalo green yellow shade. Cobalt turquoise. Turquoise phthalo, and anthracnone blue. So this will be a range, a full range from light being the yellow to the green gold to the phthalo green, and then into the turquoises and into the dark blue. So I'm always working from light to dark. So the first order of business is to start with a light colored solid sheet of the rice paper. So I'm going to roll out 2 colors. I'm going to be sort of marbling 2 colors in each layer that I do. So I've been practicing with the marbling a lot, and the way that I found is the best way to do it is rather than putting both colors on the plate and kind of running them together, I've had the best results with putting the lighter color on the plate, rolling it out with complete coverage, and then taking the second color and sort of putting a few drops of that here and there, and then taking the small brayer and sort of spreading that out and trying not to let it blend into the first color. So this is going to give me sort of a double 2-tone marbled effect. And I'm going to put the smooth side down on the plate and pull a light colored solid. So I've got a little bit of paint left on the plate. I'm just going to apply a little bit more pressure to sort of pick that up. And here I've got my marbled light colored solid. So I've got my 2-tone light color that I'm going to start with. So then I'm going to move to my second layer of dark in terms of color. So my next combo is the cobalt turquoise and the phthalo green yellow shade. So again, I'm going to put this out, the phthalo green on the whole plate. Might need a little bit more of that. So I'll roll that out evenly over the whole plate, and then I'll put a little bit of the cobalt turquoise in there and spread that out with the mini roller. Okay. So now I'm going to use the key ingredient, and that's the Spanish moss. So when I lived in Florida, we could just get this out of the trees, but now I have to get it from Amazon. So the key is to pull out a handful of this, and I know it's messy, but it is definitely worth it. And then you want to separate it out into some strands. It comes in long strands. So you want to pull these long strands out of it and sort of arrange those on the plate. So you don't want to just throw it in clumps on the plate. You want to pull out these strings and sort of stretch them out and arrange them like strings. But unlike strings, they have this great texture and these little things that are popping off the sides of them. So, and they're spindly and curvy and curly, and they're very thin. So, and they're very organic. And I love that because unlike a string, they have thicks and thins, and they have clumps and strings, and it's more organic than just using a string that's the same width from one end to the other. So here we've got pretty good coverage with the messy Spanish moss. And then I'm gonna take my print that I pulled on the yellow green and put that over the moss. Now the key is, because the moss is a little bit more 3D than some of like stencils or things you use on the plate, is that you need to apply a lot of pressure with the heel of the palm of your hand, especially in areas where the moss is dense. If you want to have a good print with a lot of those little fuzzy edges and the properties of the moss, you need to make sure you make a good connection. And I always suggest that before you dismount, you pull it up and have a look. And you see this big cluster right here? That really could get more definition with more pressure. So when I add more pressure, you see with my fingers, and that's the beauty of the gel plate, is that we can press and get good contact with the paper and the plate. But before you dismount the sheet, give it a peek and make sure, because now that looks much better than it did. So I'm just gonna give it a peek. I'm gonna pull it up from four corners, and I'm going to make sure that I've got the best possible print before I remove the paper. So where the moss is dense is where you need to apply the most pressure with the heel of the palm of your hand or your fingertips. So that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to take that off, and I've got this beautiful stringy, swirly, sort of natural colored print, and I'm going to carefully remove the moss from the plate. Anything that you don't get off will come up with packing tape when you strip it across and peel it off. You can get everything off the plate when you're done and ready to clean up. So now I'm going to go to the third set of colors, which is the darker set. So that's the turquoise phthalo and the anthracnone blue. So I'm going to put the turquoise phthalo across the whole plate. Spreading it out evenly. If there's a few crumbs of moss on there, don't worry about it. They'll add to the texture. And then the anthracnone is the darkest color, so a few drops of that. And the small brayer to sort of give a marbled effect with that. This works really nicely. This marbled effect, it gives you even more layers and richness than just doing a solid. So now I've got my marbled effect. This will be my third layer on the plate, and I'm going to use the same moss. You can use the same moss over and over for quite a bit before it gets kind of all messy. And even when it gets messy and colored with paint, it'll transfer sometimes that paint color that's on it sort of serendipitously to your print. So you can't really anticipate what it's going to do, but it does some interesting things. So don't be tempted just to toss it and get new just because it's got paint on it, because that could provide something magical in your next print. Unexpected and magical. So I'm going to make sure I've got a bit of something out to all four corners. So a little here, a little there. And I can drop some crumbs on there, as well as extending the strings. You can drop some little crumbs on there. And then I've got my print. So this will be my third layer. And again, the same process, pressing with the heel of the palm of your hand and checking before you dismount. And there you have it, a beautiful, highly textured, rich, layered print that will be amazing for greenery in landscape collage or anything else your heart desires.